This is launching you into your freshman year at RPI, and part of that process is navigating your or your HASS requirements, excuse me. Everybody has HASS requirements regardless of your major at RPI, so that's what we're here to help you figure out today. And again, I'm here, I'm Jen Yeager, Karen Lewis is also here, and we're here to help you throughout your journey and answer the questions about your HASS requirements as an engineer at RPI. So we're doing the little intro right now, things that we'll be talking about. What is HASS? What does that even mean? You're going to have different requirements that are labeled as HASS. Some of those are pathways, and we'll talk about all the different requirements that come into play, which ones you need to worry about for freshman year, which ones you'll work on as you get going through your process. There's lots of resources. If there's one thing that we're good at in the Engineering Hub, it's giving you resources. So that's part of the presentation today. And then, of course, like I said, drop those questions into the chat. So first and foremost, what is HASS? It's one of our famous abbreviations here at RPI. HASS is Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences. So this is all basically keeping in mind that you're engineers and you're very tech savvy, but you also need to have that basis of humanities, social sciences work to work towards your degree as well. So in this middle section here, you'll see the different abbreviations that you're going to see in HASS that are the different kinds of classes that you can take and register for. So anything from your arts classes, cognitive science, communication, economics. There's a lot of economics classes at RPI. Something I kind of want to focus on right here is INQR. As an incoming freshman, you're required to do a HASS inquiry class. That will be labeled as INQR, and we'll go a little bit more into depth in that today and see what that really means to you. So as far as all the requirements, you can see they're laid out with these little helpful bullets here. What do you need to do as an engineering major at RPI when it comes to HASS classes? You need to have your HASS inquiry class. That has to be completed within your first 2 semesters. So if you don't get your class in the fall, you can certainly do that in your freshman spring. No big deal. Communication intensive HASS course is exactly what it sounds like. That's going to be a more intensive lesson on communication and writing and rhetoric and working within a group. So that's going to be one of your requirements. HASS integrative pathways are 12 credits. So those are going to be about 3 classes for you at RPI. This is something that you'll talk about freshman year, but it doesn't have to be set in stone right when you get in the gate at RPI. So HASS integrative pathways required, as is a 4,000 level HASS class. And then engineers all take 20 HASS credits altogether. If you talk to a friend who's computer science or a bio major and they say they have to take 24 credits, don't freak out. There are different requirements in different schools. Engineers take a total of 20. So what are the HASS classes? You'll see a copy of a template here. If you've been looking at our website, we have the templates up for all the different engineering majors at RPI. Here in the yellow highlights, you will see right inside every single program that we have in engineering, embedded is the HASS requirements for you. We always like to say, if you're meeting your prerequisites, these don't have to be the exact way that your schedule looks. Some people will change things around because they've brought classes in through AP credit and things of that nature. But this is your standard template. So you'll see HASS entries are scattered throughout your time at RPI in the templates. Can I use AP, IB, dual enrollment credit? The answer is yes. Of course, that's not the end of the answer, and we go more into depth today. And it's a little bit of case-by-case basis with each student, depending on what they're bringing in. But you guys need to know you can use up to 8 credits of transfer credit towards your HASS core. And then additional credits can be applied towards free electives if applicable. The big thing is if you are someone who ends up doing a dual major at RPI, no more free electives. That's going to be taken up by your second dual or your second major. And again, we'll talk about this with your hub advisor. These will be conversations that we'll have. What applies, what doesn't, and if you're doing a dual, et cetera, et cetera. So the integrative pathway requirement. This is kind of broken down into step 1, 2, and 3. Again, this is like your gateway into freshman year. You should be aware that there's this pathway requirement, but you don't have to have anything nailed down, certainly, your first semester at RPI. Step 1, as you're thinking about your pathways, you're going to look at the RPI course catalog. You'll look at the RPI course catalog throughout your time at RPI and definitely throughout freshman year. When in doubt, you could do a Google search, RPI catalog, and you'll be able to have it come up. The big thing to remember is that sometimes when you do the Google search, you'll get a catalog for past years. You always want to have the start of your class year, which for you guys is 2024, and there's a drop down that you'll see. But that's something we'll keep reminding you in the School of Engineering Hub as well. Once you go to the catalog, now you're going to scroll down to integrative pathways. There it is, integrative pathways, and here's the listing of your different choices for HASS pathways. And you can click through and do a bit of research and investigate what looks good to you. Then when you click into a pathway, oops, we clicked into economics. This will show you what the requirements are for the economics pathway. And that's really the way that you can look and see if this is something that seems feasible for you, something that's going to be interesting to you, et cetera, et cetera. And I think this is where I'm going to turn things over to Karen Lewis. So I will continue to advance slides and stop talking.
Thanks, Jen. Hi, everybody. My name is Karen Lewis, and as Jen mentioned, there is a lot of different things to know about HASS, and it does get complicated. So as we go through this, definitely put your questions in the chat, and we will address them at the end. But just know that if you do have questions after this webinar, we're always here to support you. So HASS is complicated, and we're trying to make it less complicated in this webinar, so hopefully we accomplish that goal. So one of the bigger questions that we get here in the hub is, I want to do a minor. How can I do a minor? The HASS pathways make it very easy to do a minor. So the long and short is that you need to do 5 HASS classes total. If you dedicate 4 of those 5 HASS classes towards a minor, when applicable, you can actually have a minor completed without taking any additional classes. So that's something that you can discuss with your hub advisor, but start now. As Jen suggests, use the catalog to review the HASS requirements in the catalog and the pathways. And you'll notice here where this orange arrow is, at the bottom of certain pathways, probably about 2/3 of them, you will see minors that are listed in option for the pathway. And if you click on that minor, it will probably detail what specific courses within the pathway will qualify for you to get a minor. So yes, minors are a little bit of planning, but it's pretty streamlined, and it's also pretty easy to do. Even if you're already doing a dual major, you could probably incorporate a HASS minor into the mix without taking any additional time and without obviously taking additional courses. So we can discuss that in more detail as we go forward, but that's something we encourage students to actually pursue those. Okay, Jen, you can go next. Okay, so now this is the bigger question about what we're doing right now with course registration and planning. You can find your HASS courses in a program called QUACS. If you're not familiar with QUACS, it is a schedule software. It is not actually how you register for your classes, it's how you build your schedules. QUACS was built by our ARCOS team, which is a comp sci group of students, and It is not really affiliated with RPI, but every RPI student generally uses Quacks when they're creating their schedules. So what you're going to want to do is when you're in the Quacks home page, you're going to look under the Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences column. And that's where you're going to find all of the prefixes that Jen mentioned previously that are considered HASS. As an incoming freshman, we really encourage you to kind of look at the HASS inquiry category because those classes are dedicated exclusively to first year students. So you're going to find when you're navigating the HASS columns and different sections that a lot of courses might be full. Now, the Haas inquiry courses all say they're full currently. That is going to change next week. And the reason why we kind of pause on putting classes or seats into those classes is because registration is currently open for upperclassmen, and we don't want the sophomores and juniors and seniors taking up the freshman Haas inquiry courses. So registration for everybody else closes on Monday. So then we're going to incorporate seats into those sections. So don't become discouraged when you look in the Haas inquiry category on Quacks and it says that there's no seats available. I'm going to show you how to get to Quacks. It's on our website, but you can also just go to quacks.org. But we'll go through that in more detail. Okay, we can advance. All right, so now as you're registering for your classes, there's two components. Quacks is the first one where you're going to be building your schedule of all of your classes, not just Haas. And then we're going to go into SIS, aka Student Information System, to actually register for your classes. So when you do a class search in the SIS student menu, you can also find the same categories that are listed on Quacks in that little box right here. As you go into those sections, you can also see the screens where we have real-time activity. Quacks, there's a little bit of a delay, so we encourage you really to look at the class search function in SIS for real time during registration. Haas seats fill up very quickly. So even though Quacks might say, hey, there's a seat available or seats available, and then you go to register and it tells you the section's closed, that's because there is that lag. If you go into SIS class search, you're going to see an SR in the first column. That means seats remaining. So that is when you can actually see that there are seats available in a section you're looking for. If it's labeled as a C, that means the section is closed and you're going to have to find an alternative course or section. In the middle column, you're also going to see how many seats are physically available. So you have the capacity in the first column, actual registration in the second column, and remaining seats in the third. The remaining seats is what you're going to focus on because that's going to tell you how many seats are in the section that you're trying to register for. And third, there's an attribute column. Jen mentioned previously that not only do we need a Haas inquiry, but we also need a communication intensive requirement. If you look at the attribute of this particular class, Science, Technology, and Society, you're going to see that not only does it satisfy the Haas inquiry requirement, but it also satisfies the communication intensive requirement. Yes, you can satisfy more than one Haas requirement with one course. So in theory, if you registered for Science, Tech, and Society, you could put a checkbox next to the Haas inquiry, and you can also put a checkbox next to the communication intensive requirement. You still need to do 5 Haas classes total, but 2 of the requirements are satisfied.
Ready for next screen?
Yes, please. Okay, so now we have our information, and when you build your schedules on Quacks, you're going to have something called a CRN at the bottom of the screen, which I'm going to show you in a little bit. CRN stands for Course Registration Number. These apply to all courses, not just Haas. This is also a registration tutorial. You're going to be inputting the CRNs of all the courses that you plan to register for in the drop add menu in student menu in SIS. There's these boxes that will appear when your registration window opens, and you're going to input your Haas CRN there as well. Now, if you get a message or an error message, that means that you're not registered for that class. A lot of times, HASS does something that's a little bit sneaky in a way because you can't see it on the front screen. They restrict a certain number of courses to HASS majors. So for example, if you're trying to get into a class that's required by a HASS major, they might split the section and you might have two sections of a HASS class. And that would give you an indication that perhaps one section is restricted to HASS majors or certain years, and then the other section might be unrestricted. In order for me to show you that, we're going to advance to the next screen, and I want you to kind of take your time when you're looking at HASS classes to navigate this option. Okay. So the question is the course restricted? Now in the student menu in HASS, the CRNs also appear. If you click them, they are all hyperlinked. So again, HASS is where you're going to find the restrictions. Wax is not going to show you the restrictions. If you click on the hyperlink of the CRN of the course you're considering, it's going to bring you to this screen where it gives you a little bit more information about the course. It tells you the details, the timing, and everything that you might need. If you click again on the title of the course, it's hyperlinked. It is going to bring you to a third screen. The third screen is where you're going to find the restrictions. So for this particular course, it says must be enrolled in the following classifications, freshman. So if it says that it's freshman restricted, guess what? That's you guys. So that means that you should be able to register. If it says it's restricted to an architecture or business major, that's going to be outside of your window. You're going to have to find another section or another course. So those are things to do while you're waiting to register for classes. You could do that right now. HASS is available for you to kind of plan those things. So we encourage you to go through those HASS inquiries or HASS classes, click on those links and see if there's any restrictions, and avoid the classes that are obviously restricted outside of your jurisdiction. So another thing that we offer is how to track your HASS classes. Obviously, we know you have to do 5. We need a HASS inquiry. We need an integrative pathway. We need a communication intensive. We need a 4,000, and we need 20 credits total. How do you track all of that progress that you're going to be making? We work with you during freshman year to kind of discuss the pathways. We are going to make you declare a pathway before the end of freshman year, which we'll talk about later on. But you can always change pathways, but we want you to understand how to achieve those requirements and how to track them. In the hub, we created a tracking sheet that will help you monitor exactly what you do. And you can download this sheet right here off of our spreadsheet or off of our website, which I'll show you how to do. The reason why we want you to have that is because after you leave us after freshman year, faculty might not fully understand what you're doing with your HASS requirements. And this puts everything in a very clean format for everybody to understand what requirements you've fulfilled and what still needs to be done. So we really encourage you to use this tracking sheet to keep track of your progress and share it with your future faculty advisor as well. Okay, so the last slide is basically us telling you that we have a lot of resources on our hub website. We also are going to be posting this recording on our site. So if you do have questions that you want to circle back to, you can find that right on our website, which I'm going to show you in just a minute. Please follow us on Instagram because we're very active on social media. We are going to give you updates about deadlines, important things you might need to know, fun things you might need to know or might not need to know, but either way, they're there. And we just really want you to be engaged. WebEx is a really great tool as well. So if you haven't activated your WebEx account, please do so in order to connect with us, because we do have drop-in sessions, which we also post the schedule on our website. In order to be able to participate with those drop-in one-on-one meetings, you need to be active on WebEx because that's how we send you the meeting link. So if you haven't done that, if you have questions about that, reach out to us. You can always email us on the SOE Hub website or email soehub@rpi.edu. Now I'm going to start sharing my screen because I'm going to want to show you a couple of different things that in real time might be helpful while you're doing your course planning. So the first thing that I'm going to bring up is the course catalog in real time. Now, right now, as Jen mentioned, there is a drop-down menu that shows you specifically what year you're going to be looking at. Um, Currently, we only have the 23-24 catalog. That's the most recent one. However, your catalog year is going to go live on Monday. So there will be an option for 24-25. We've been told by HASS that there aren't any differences in the pathways between last year and this year. So for our planning purposes today, we can use the 23 catalog just to give you a little bit more in-depth analysis here. So along the left is the main menu. You're going to select programs, and we're going to scroll down to integrative pathways. Now, again, these are all of the pathway options. Before the end of freshman year, you are going to choose one of these. Now, let's use psychology as an example. If you click on it, it brings up all of the requirements and all of the course options that you have. Now, Psych 1200, which is general psych, is a required course, so that would be one way to start the pathway. Now, you might know this is not an inquiry class. So that means that you're going to have to take an inquiry class in addition to doing the courses in this pathway to satisfy the inquiry requirement. So just pay attention to that. So even if you intend to do the psych pathway, you're still going to have to pick a HASS inquiry. Now, the other thing, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, we have these compatible minors. So we have a behavioral and cognitive neuroscience minor, a gen psych minor, and a psychological science minor. The gen psych minor is obviously the most general and probably the most flexible. So if you click on that, it is basically going to tell you what you need to do to complete the minor. It says you just need to do 3 additional courses in addition to that required psych introduction to psychological science class, and one has to be on the 4,000 level. So completing this minor is also going to complete your pathway requirement and your 4,000 level requirement. And a lot of psych classes happen to have the communication intensive designation. So that's another thing that you could satisfy by completing the psych minor. So that's kind of what I wanted to show you there. Now, as far as Quacks is concerned, Quacks is your scheduling software. Now, when you initially log into quacks.org, you're going to make sure you're in the fall 2024 catalog because otherwise you're going to be scheduling courses that are not physically happening this fall. So make sure you pay attention to that. But you hit your orange Quacks button on the upper left-hand corner and it brings you to the main menu. Now, as I mentioned, if you click on HASS Inquiry, all of these are labeled currently full. The seats will be added at a later time. So please don't worry. We have plenty of seats in these HASS inquiry. They're exclusively for freshmen. The most important thing you could do to hedge your bets and get the class that you prefer is to register right at your registration window when it opens on July 10th. So if you have not checked your registration status on SIS yet, please do so to find out exactly what time on July 10th you register. Now, you're going to also see while you're in Quacks, they have the designation that certain classes are communication intensive and also HASS inquiry. So these are a benefit for you because a lot of the comm intensive inquiries will satisfy both comm intensive and HASS inquiry. Now there's some that are just HASS inquiry and that is perfectly fine as well. Either one is fine. You have 5 HASS classes total to complete the comm intensive requirement. So I wouldn't stress too much about that. There's more of an emphasis and a need for you to complete the inquiry requirement before the end of freshman year. Now, all of these courses are offered in fall. There might be different inquiry courses offered in spring, and some of the inquiry courses in fall might not be offered in spring. So please note that just because you didn't get your HASS inquiry for fall doesn't mean that the same courses are being offered. So that's something that you're going to want to look at as well. So that's pretty much where you're going to find the information. And one more thing I wanted to show you specifically was the program sheet specifics. So again, this goes over the requirements, all of the prefixes for HASS, our 20 credit requirement. As Jen mentioned, other schools have different requirements. So if you're an engineer, obviously you're going to do 20 credits. If you end up changing your major outside of engineering, your HASS requirements are going to change. So make sure that you follow up with appropriate staff to inquire about what the new requirements might be. Or if you're coming into engineering, you have different requirements than other schools. So as we track, the first thing you're going to do when you're here, you're going to register for your HASS inquiry course, hopefully for this fall. You would input that information right on this line where it says HASS inquiry. Now, if that inquiry class is part of a pathway, you could put it here as well. If it's not, it'll stay just where it is. If your HASS inquiry course is a communication intensive course, you will also put that same HASS inquiry course on this line as well. And then all the way at the bottom, you're going to list all 5 of your HASS classes. Now, if you're bringing AP, IB, or dual enrollment credits and you want to use them towards the HASS core, you can put those in right now. Those are going to be only 2. You can only apply up to 8 credits towards the core, but you would be able to input those here. So what does that mean? That means that you have 3 remaining courses in HASS, and since your pathway is 3 courses collectively, you will have to dedicate the remaining 3 courses exclusively towards the pathway requirements and your common intensive and your 4000. So that means all of those requirements have to be satisfied within that pathway. Now, we could talk about those things in more detail if you have questions, but that's pretty much the overview of what we wanted to show you specifically at this time. So I'm going to stop sharing and we'll take some of your questions. And if we have to hop in to show any visuals, we'll do so.
Great.
Okay, awesome. So what questions do we have? If you want to read them out loud, Jen, so everybody can hear them, then we'll answer them.
So it's kind of a recap at this point because
Okay.
Karen, you were able to address everything while you were sharing your screens that came up for questions. Somebody had asked about AP credit. How does that work within the HASS requirements? And you touched on that a little bit. But yeah, it does happen case by case depending on what people are bringing in. There's a really good resource on the registrar's website, which will show if you click on the right-hand side, there's a section about transfer credit, AP credit, and it shows how different AP courses transfer in, even on the HASS side. So
Now, generally, with the exception of psychology and economics, depending on which economics exam you take, a majority of your AP credits will come in as elective credits, which means they don't come in as named courses. So what that ultimately means is you generally can't apply those classes towards a pathway. Obviously, there's extenuating circumstances, and if you have questions, we could definitely address them. But usually, like even a history class might come in as an STSO 1000 elective. So it's not going to apply towards the history pathway if you choose to do that, but it will count as one of your 5 overall HASS classes. And since only 3 classes have to be part of that pathway, you still have room.
great. And then other things to recap. Right away, I was made aware of the fact that 24-25 catalog isn't up yet, which we knew. I just totally forgot to mention that. So that is right. And you did touch on that as well.
July 1st is when
July
it's supposed to
1st.
go live.
And then we talked about Quacks and how to use it to build your schedule.
Yeah, so Quacks is kind of a fun software to play around with, and if you do have questions about using it, the best way to learn is really just to kind of click around and see what happens. But you can click, I'll share my screen quick and we'll show it again just to clarify. So if you're in Quacks and you're curious about how to build a schedule, if you go to the main menu and you use your course template, based off of what the required courses are for your specific major, you can pick classes, like say for example, you want to register Calculus 1. There's like 30 something sections in here. So in order to clarify or get the most options for you, you click on toggle all sections and you hit schedule. So that's going to bring up a course. Now, if we put a Haas inquiry in there, let's say we put science tech and we pick all of these, we're going to toggle and we'll schedule. So now you have different options and you have one of 64 generated schedules. As you're incorporating classes, the number of options is going to increase. And the thing that's awesome about Quacks is that it does not allow you to basically schedule conflicting courses. So this just makes your job a little bit easier. But if you arrow back and forth, you're going to see how the courses bounce around on the screen. And after you add all your classes, if you find a class schedule that you really like, you're going to pay more attention to this bottom line right here, which is where your course CRNs are, course registration numbers. Those are the numbers that you're going to input in those little boxes that we showed you on SIS when you're registering during your time ticket window. So that's kind of how the registration process works. You go through here, you get to pick your courses and you input them on. And you can also pick and choose, like say, for example, you don't want an 8 a.m., which sometimes you need an 8 a.m. But for this, I'm going to show you, you can unhighlight a section to remove it from the equation if you choose to do so. So that would be something like that. And then you would have a little bit more flexibility moving around. So you can play with this. I encourage you to do so. Registration doesn't happen until July 10th, so you have plenty of time to kind of create those things. All right.
Very similar question. Where are all these documents located for reference when I apply for classes? Which is like our big statement this year is go to the website, right?
Yeah, so I'm going to share again and I'm going to show you how to find the website because I think that we could tell you to go to the website, but if you don't know where you're looking, it's not entirely helpful. So on this tab, I just Googled SOE Hub because a lot of times we don't have the links or we don't know where to find them. We have so much information, it's hard to follow. So if you click on this, this is going to take you to our website. Obviously, you're the class of 2028, so you're going to get started right there. If you click on it, and you navigate our drop-in times, how do I do all of the questions, right? What are HASS pathways and what are the requirements? Here is where we give you the worksheet so you can download it. And also this link will actually take you to RPI's HASS department's website. So they're a resource for you as well. You can always contact HASS if you have questions. Obviously, your hub advisors are well versed in HASS and can answer a majority of them. But if it involves a substitution or a possible arrangement that is not laid out on the websites that we've given you, then that would be more of an indication for you to reach out to HASS specifically. Um, but you have all of the information here. And also, just a sidebar, as you're creating schedules, we have all of the major templates, Quacks link, everything is here on our website. We try to put everything in one spot. So as long as you can get to our website, you could pretty much find everything you need. So that's really what we really want to emphasize more than anything else is that if you can't find it on our website, there's a good chance it doesn't exist. And if you do find something that you can't find on our website, we'll add it to the website in the future. So let us know.
Sure.
But what other questions are there?
Um, this is a good one. Do all of the Haas communications classes fulfill the communication intensive requirement? And this could even be broken down to do all the inquiry classes fulfill the communication intensive requirement? I happen to know at last count, there were only 4 inquiry classes that did not fulfill communication intensive. That might change before classes start. I'm not sure, but
So
most of them are.
yeah, to Jen's point, most of the Haas inquiries do have that communication intensive. If you're asking specifically about the communication com
Right.
prefix, we can look. These classes do not, but most of them do. Com-intensive, this is not com-intensive, com-intensive, com-intensive. So again, you could see those attributes in SIS in the class search menu, but you can also see the attributes right on Quacks. And Quacks also provides you with a little bit of a course description. So that's really helpful again to find that one-stop shopping. So you're like, hey, what is this class even about? Well, it's going to tell you, and it's also going to tell you if it's communication intensive. So Quacks is a great resource. SIS class search is a great resource for both of those details.
Let me go back up because I scrolled down a little bit. So AP and transfer classes, when they are submitted, are they reviewed and are students notified what requirements they may satisfy?
You're not notified. What happens is they will actually appear on your transcript, which you can also view in SIS student menu. Once they're on your transcript, you will see them come in as a specific thing. The other place in the student menu is DegreeWorks. If you click on DegreeWorks, DegreeWorks will show you what category your specific transfer credit will populate and fulfill. Now, if you have questions about this, we always encourage you to talk to the hub advisor because sometimes DegreeWorks might automatically populate your course into a free elective, even though it's a HASS. And we can have that moved for you. So I don't want you to stress too much if they populate in a category that you think it shouldn't be in. Just get in touch with us and let us know. But look at DegreeWorks on SIS student menu once your credits come in because that's where you're going to see where it's populated. But because we have so many students that generally process and transfer credits to RPI, there isn't really a notification process. It's really up to you to kind of look and monitor your own degree audit, which really you should be doing throughout your 4 years anyway. So that's something that you should get in practice of doing.
There's a question that I'm not sure how to answer. It said, will this website be updated on Monday as well? And it's the hasspathways.com. So I'm not sure if that gets updated or if it's in a good spot for the whole semester.
HASSpathways.com.
Yeah,
Um,
let's see.
oh, that's the wrong one. Let's see what we got. I'm not sure where that would be.
Yeah, me neither.
If it's the Haas Pathways, it's up to the Haas department to update that website. We only live within the School of Engineering Hub website. So if it's not on our website, if you want to give us the link offline, we can look into it for you and I could see if it's updated. But the pathways are going to be the same from last year, so I suspect they likely won't be updated because there weren't really any curricular changes between the 2 years.
Okay.
So like I said, you can plan and don't do this for your major specific classes. Do this only for Haas because major specific, there are updates generally every year. So you really want to rely on the resources that we give you within the templates and everything else. So, but again, if you have questions, you let us know.
Yep.
But the course catalog, the resources that we have on our website, those are the most accurate for your year.
Someone asked about can I use AP US history credits, and we talked about how that comes in as Haas credit as far as not towards the pathway, but as elective credit.
So yes, you could definitely use it towards one of your 5 Haas classes.
Where do you find the sheet you just shared to download? And that's on our website
On
on
our
the SOE
website.
Hub.
So definitely go to the website and navigate that. Again, it's School of Engineering. Once you're in the welcome of class of 2028, it's under the frequently asked questions and it's under what are Haas pathways and the Haas requirement. That is where the website and the worksheet are.
We have an awesome website to in our own horn. If we have questions related to Haas or course registration while in the process, what is the most available resource to get help?
The website. And also you can reach out to us. We have
Yes.
drop-in hours. And again, while we're on the website, I will show you what we currently have. We are updating these because we plan to expand the drop-in hours because we had a great response on Wednesday, um, as in 2 days ago. So I think this will be updated on Monday afternoon, so I want you to check back and see. You can always pop in a meeting one-on-one with one of the advisors. The WebEx chat, the engineering chat that we update regularly, pop a question in there. There's no harm in throwing it out there because the chances are somebody else has the same question as you. And Hub advisors monitor that Monday through Friday pretty consistently, and we will get back to you very quickly. So those are great resources. You can also email us directly at soehub@rpi.edu. We have already emailed you numerous things to your RPI email address, so you could simply respond to one of those emails if you choose, to ask additional questions.
Yeah, and similarly, we are all hands on deck the day of registration. So July 10th, we know that things are going to come up and troubleshooting happens. So we'll be right there checking the email on our WebEx and all that good stuff. Should we be figuring out what courses we are interested in because we can't register until next month? Yeah, that's what we're using this time for.
Yes, absolutely. Start planning now and have multiple plans because depending on your time ticket, there is always a chance that sections are going to fill up and you need a backup plan. So have multiple plans, pick out multiple HASS classes that interest you that work with your schedule. So if one of them is full, you can easily transition into another one and register for that on the spot. Usually it's a little bit of a rat race, and we encourage you really to kind of act quickly to get what you want because some of the classes sound really appealing and students are like, oh, I want that class. And then they're really bummed out if they wait. Don't wait to register until the last day of registration. Register right when your time ticket opens because that's going to give you the best chance to get into the courses that you're interested in.
Somebody asked for guidance on the virtual drop-in advising we do in the SOE Hub. We touched a little bit on it, but if you wanted to talk about that process, Karen.
Yeah, so I actually have that right here on the screen. So usually, we do Wednesdays, but again, we have talked about it and we do plan on expanding these hours. So leading up to July 10th, which is your registration day, we will have drop-in meetings that you can sign up for. The sign up sheet is this red box right here. However, it will not be open unless there is an advising session happening. So that means if you click on this right now, guess what? It's not available because we're not advising right now. So it's really important for you to pay attention to the posted times above because right now, unless we update the website to say it's going to be earlier, there's going to be an advising session on Wednesday, July 3rd. Now, if we change it and there's one on July 2nd at 9 a.m., then you can click and log right into 9 o'clock, put your information and the reason you want to meet into that page. And then on WebEx, this is why I emphasize the importance of setting up your WebEx account. I'm going to direct message you on WebEx. You're going to get a little button from me that says, hey, I'm ready to meet. Here's the link. You click on the link, you join me in my room, and then we get to have a conversation. If you don't pay attention, if you let too much time pass, after 5 minutes, I have to move on to the next student on the list. Last week or earlier this week, we had 20 students sign up right away. So there might be a wait time, and that's something that you want to factor into the equation. But we're trying really hard to go through things. So these drop-in meetings are really to answer questions about registration. Hold off on the questions about minors and duals and all the other things that we could talk about during the academic year. We really want to prioritize quick questions that will help you have a successful registration.
This is a great question. What is the expected number of classes that should be taken per semester?
That is a great question. So if you go, I'm going to show you quick, back to our website, that fabulous website, we are going to say, how do I register for my fall classes or create my schedule? The major templates are on here. Now, if we click on that, it's going to take you to a specific box where all the major specific areas are broken down. So if we click on arrow, for example, it's going to show you the breakdown of each class semester and what's recommended. Now, this is also going to change based off of how many credits you're coming in with. If you have Calc 1, you might bypass it to Calc 2. But if you do the credit count in one of these columns, this is a 17 credit semester. Now, if you're an ROTC, you're going to be registering for credits above that, probably around 19 to 20. But generally, first year engineering students in any major hover between 16 and 17 credits in every semester. That's usually what will get you to graduate within a reasonable time frame, and that's our goal. We want you to register and be successful in graduating within 8 semesters rather than extending your stay, unless you want to. But that's generally what our advice is. 16 credits to 17 credits is the goal.
And this also answers a question, is there a place to look at my overall course requirements for freshman year? Yep, just like Karen showed, it's these templates that are on our website.
Yeah, so again, things might move around a bit, and that's something that we encourage actually because we want you to be aware of the prerequisite for courses and how to move things around. We go through that with you throughout your freshman year because we'll actually develop a customized 4-year plan for you, which will ultimately lay out the courses for every semester right through graduation based off of what your goals are and what you're bringing to RPI. So this might look very different for you if you're an arrow with a lot of AP credits. So we work on that with you, but this will generally give you all the list of all the required courses throughout the whole thing in order for you to get that diploma.
As far as what's in the chat question so far, we have 2 more.
Okay.
Someone says, I'm not able to join the WebEx engineering chat. How am I able to join?
Okay, so there's a couple of different things that we need to work through. If you can email your RIN and your full name to soehub@rpi.edu, we will troubleshoot with you. It might be that you recently changed your major. It might be that we just weren't able to activate you. So there's different things that we could troubleshoot, and we'll do that off screen. But that applies to anybody. If you can't access WebEx, please contact us so we can help you navigate that, because not only do we use WebEx throughout the school year, your professors are going to as well. So you will want to engage on WebEx for sure. So we need that to be a priority.
Very, very good point. Somebody brought up these times are in Eastern time zone, right? And yes, I forget
Yes.
to mention that.
So your registration time ticket is in Eastern time zone. So if you're West Coast and you have an 8 a.m., I'm really sorry. Set
Eek.
the alarm clock, but definitely prioritize it and then go back to bed. It should take relatively a quick amount of time to register for your classes if you have schedules prepared.
Oops, somebody else dropped a question. You guys get a gold star for awesome questions today. Could you please show how to get the registration time? I'm on CIS and I missed how to find your time ticket.
Okay, so let's see if I can go back into a different presentation. Ultimately, I could tell you right now, if you go into the student menu, there is a bullet, probably second from the top, that says check registration status. Type in the chat if you're finding that. And once you click on check registration status, it's going to bring you to a second screen where you're going to have to select fall of 2024. And then in the next screen, it's
Got
going
it.
to tell you the specific time that you have to register for your classes. While I have you there, a little bit below it is another bullet that says financial responsibility agreement. Everybody in this webinar has to fulfill that requirement before they register for their fall classes. So if you go into SIS and student menu and you click that, it's basically saying, yes, I agree to pay my bill. That's ultimately what it is. You have to do it every semester before you register for classes. So if you're in SIS right now and you want to do that just to get it done and it's over with for this semester, please do so because you don't want that to hang you up while you're physically trying to get into a class that's filling up quickly.
I think we're caught up on questions. Is there anything else that we didn't talk about today? I don't know. I think they're questioned out, Karen.
Well, if anything comes up, the WebEx chat's a great place to put it. And again, email us if there's something more personal that you want detailed. Um, the earliest time for registration is 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, incrementally, we do release seats in School of Engineering. So that is something that, if you have like a 12 o'clock time ticket, don't worry because there will be seats available. So just keep us posted if you run into any issues. But usually we incrementally release seats throughout the morning so everybody has a fair shot in getting into those courses. That's what we do in the School of Engineering. I can't speak for all the other schools, but that is definitely something that we do. Were there other questions?
Just one more, where to find quacks to build schedule.
So again, that was where you're going to want to go to our website, again, where I was previously, and seek out the FAQs because it's going to say how to register for my classes. Quacks is linked right in that website for you.
There was another question about the athletes, the varsity athletes, and their time tickets.
So for future registrations, athletes do get priority registration to make sure that they can register for a time that doesn't conflict with their practices. This registration is general for everyone. There is no priority registration. When you register as an athlete, you're going to want to be cognizant of not scheduling classes between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. as they will conflict with um, your practices. However, there are some classes that do have a test block. So, for example, Physics 1, if you're registering for Physics 1 this fall, you're going to notice that no matter what section you pick, there is a test block on Tuesdays from like 6 to 7 something. That is something that you can't avoid. So what we recommend generally is that you reach out to your coach and say, I do have a test block. And on the first day of classes, you're going to get the list of the dates that you have exams. You could share that with your coach just to let them know when you actually have to go to a test rather than show up to practice. So we all work kind of in a partnership. Coach is aware that you have academics and requirements, and we all try to work together. But while you're creating your schedules, try to avoid like classes that are scheduled, lectures that are scheduled between 4 and 7.
This is a good point too. The time ticket indicates that the entire application period is my time ticket, meaning you'll see like a big range the entire time that you're able to register for classes. We kind of want students to narrow in on when the registration opens. But yes, it's open that entire couple days.
Yeah, so it's open from July 10th through the 16th, but as we're emphasizing, don't wait until the 16th to register because there won't be any classes available and you're going to be scrambling and probably getting the worst times of whatever's left. So we really want you to prioritize registering on the 10th when your window opens. But hypothetically, say another class becomes available. So this is another thing that we haven't touched on, but it's probably important to bring up. If a class is full, there's no harm in checking throughout the registration window if a seat happens to open up because students will be moving things around. They're going to be making friends. They might talk to upperclassmen. They might have recommendations. Whatever the circumstances might be, there might be a class that you're really passionate about taking, but it's full. Keep checking because if a seat does become available between the 10th and the 16th, jump on that, register for it, and then you can always drop another course to make sure that you have the proper credit count. So don't feel like you're locked in, locked in. And there's plenty of times, including the start of the semester, to adjust your schedule. So if you're in a class that you're not enjoying, as long as it's within the first 2 weeks of the semester, you can find an alternative class. Registration will reopen later on this summer. So this isn't your first go about. So we want you to obviously take this seriously, but also know that there are opportunities to make changes if needed.
All right. For right now, that's all the questions. But to
You guys are
summarize,
great. Thank you.
such good questions. Uh, to summarize, when you guys walk away today for Haas and everything else, step one, check our amazing website. And if that doesn't do it, you know where to find us. Email,
And
WebEx.
also, like, yeah, I think an email came through from a student about WebEx. Please get in touch with us if you can't get in WebEx, because we'll definitely work on that with you.
Cool. All right.
Thank
Thank
you
you guys for
guys.
coming. That was really great. You guys know where to find us. We're so excited to welcome you to campus at the end of the summer. It's going to go fast. Thanks, Karen.
Thanks, Jen.
All right. Bye, you guys. We'll talk to you very soon.